Now we're looking at API documentation. Anybody know what API stands for? Yeah. Yeah, that's correct. Application Program Interface. So this is a way of basically, you can look at the Java library as an API. In fact, it is an API. The Java Development Kit also has an API, an application programming interface. You don't have to write all the code for a program. Oh, you'd be so sunk. Say you wanted to store a file, you'd have to write the drivers to run the hard drive, and then the operating system commands to run the hard drive, and then you'd have to write the code up on top that drives the hard drive. Be glad you don't have to write any of that code. All you got to do is talk to an API. There's an API there from the operating system, or the Java virtual machine in this case, that writes files to disk. You don't have to know all the details about how it does that. All you have to do is talk to the API. So what the API then is just an interface. It's kind of a shell between you and all that complexity. You don't have to know that. Be glad. So application programming interface. There's API documentation. It lists the classes and methods in the Java library. Now in Replit, our problem is, where's Replit? I had it here. In Replit, there's no easy way to get to this documentation. The best way to get to it is just go through your browser. Type in, say, whatever you're trying to look up, and then the word Java. And then one of those links will be into the online API documentation. It's all set up as a web page or a website, and then you can go and check out all these different libraries. It's so cool. This sounds really dorky, but I like reading API documentation because you can see what the language can do, and what the libraries can do, and what code you don't have to write. You can just use the library. Why reinvent the wheel when the wheel's already sitting right there in the library? So you really, learning about Java isn't just learning about the language, it's also learning about the libraries that are available. And there's tons of stuff. I'm talking, I used to have a poster, but now the poster is too big even for a poster. All this great code that other people wrote that works really well, that you don't have to write. That's good. That saves you lots of time. Problem though is you have to figure out how to call it. And that's what this API documentation does for you. So here's the one for Java 7. We're using Java 8. Now, I remember somebody was asking this question. I can't remember who, but says, hey, isn't Java 8 old? Now it's up to Java 16. We're just using Java 8. Aren't we behind the times? Well, it used to be that the Java language would go from like version 7 to version 8 every 6 or 7 years. Okay, they would go to the next number, and they would add a bunch of stuff in. But Oracle bought out Java, and Oracle now has anything after version 8 is you have to pay for, and it really got geared toward the enterprise industry rather than people learning the programming language. And they have a timed release every 6 months. They put out a release, and they increment that major number. So now we're up to Java 13. What was it? I don't even know what the current version is. But all of this stuff we're learning is still in the Java language. They're not taking that stuff out. They're just adding libraries that normal non-server programmers would run into. A lot of the stuff they're writing are for servers and server-based software, because that's where Oracle makes its money, right? They write database servers. That's what Oracle does. Eight in the newest? Well, you can look at the history. You just go out to the Wikipedia page. It tells you about, it looks like, and I read through them all, but it just looks like a bunch of technology specific to writing for servers. And we're writing not for servers, we're writing for applications for desktop. Security stuff, and what did I see? Ways of doing load balancing. So if your server's overwhelmed, it balances the server out so that pulls in more servers, virtualizations of servers, so that you don't have to have a physical server for every website. You can put them all on one machine to make it look like it's 200 machines, 200 different web servers. So a lot of that really server-based stuff is what I saw, but I didn't take a detailed look into it. But look on the Wikipedia page, you can see what they added to each version. You read the descriptions and it doesn't make a lot of sense because they're using language. Here, You can tell this is really old because they're using frames here. Frames are a no-no in web design land. You're not supposed to use frames. Say you wanted to print this picture, whatever you clicked on last and you say print, it'll print that frame, but it won't print anything else. So now in web design, this is completely the wrong way to do it. But the one place where they still use frames is in the Java API docs. And it works really well there because you have your classes up here. Here's all the classes that are available in the whole Java library. That's cool to have that list. And then over here is the specific information about it. Now, it takes a little time to get used to reading this API because it's pretty terse up at the top, but it does have everything in it. And they try to describe it. If you go out to the Java site, they have a lot of tutorials if you want to learn how to use one of these library packages like Abstract Action. I wonder what that is. Then you can go out to, there's a tutorial perhaps about how to use that if you'd like. Nope. Well, I would say it has, they have these things called event handlers. And it's all based on actions. So an abstract action would be a parent class of all the other actions that a user could do perhaps in a game or something. So maybe that's what it's for. But you know, if we wanted to figure it out, we just click on this link and it would take us there if we were out in the API docs. Once you click on stuff, say you want to learn about rectangles, well, we see that a rectangle is an object that's, a rectangle is an object that is derived from rectangle 2D, which is a child of rectangular shape, which is a child of object. In fact, you'll hear people say this, but everything is an object in Java. That's another thing that makes Java easy, is everything's an object. That's not exactly true, but most everything is an object in Java because all objects have the same parent class, object, java.lang.object. So everything is an object in Java, where in C and C++, that's not the case. You can have objects, you can have structures, you can have fundamental data types. But in Java, everything's an object, almost. Okay. And then you can see all the different methods that are available for you to call on this object or this class. There's all these add methods, there's these contain methods, there's all this cool methods that you could take a look at. So again, it seems really silly to read through the Java API application, but API documentation, but it's a cool way to figure out what Java can do. And Java can do a lot. It just does it slowly. So in the detailed method description, the method shows the action that the method carries out, the parameters that the method requires that you have to send in, and the value that it returns. All the things you need to do, you need to be able to call this method effectively and use it in the right place. If it doesn't return anything, then it says the word void. It says it doesn't return a value. It just does stuff, but doesn't return anything. So here, translate. You see translate is void. It doesn't return anything, but it does move the rectangle. There's the delta X and delta Y. Translates this rectangle. I hate definitions that use the word in the definition. Translate. Well, it translates. Thanks. That's helpful. Mathematicians use the word translate to move stuff. So they're assuming, I guess, that you're a mathematician, you understand that. But translates the rectangle, the indicated distance, to the right along the X coordinate axis and downward along the Y coordinate axis. So if you put in negative X or negative Y, it will move it to the left for X, or negative Y will move it up the screen. And then it has a description of each of the parameters, and then says there are similar functions or similar methods called set location, where you can actually set it directly and not have to send in the delta X and delta Y. You can set it to a specific location if you'd like. All right, our last topic today is packages. Now, what we've learned in Replit is Replit doesn't like packages. It wants everything to be in the default package. So if you look at the old videos that we did that I made for NetBeans, I spent all this time putting everything in separate packages. Well, Replit doesn't handle packages very well, or maybe it does, and I just don't know how to do it. But what I've decided is we're just going to yank all the packages out. We're not going to worry about packages. We'll just put everything in the same package. That's what we're doing for our hybrid version of Java. But once we get into Java 2, and we're back in school, then we'll learn a lot more about packages and how they work. Packages are how they take the library functions and they package it up. Say, I need these library functions. So you go and grab that package and you put that in your program. Okay. So packages are our way of organizing classes and the methods that belong to that classes. So a package is a collection of classes with a related purpose. And some of them are pretty lame. Some don't seem related at all. Some of the classes in the package, these two classes don't really fit together, but they push them together anyway. But there's one package that's always loaded. It's java.lang. That's always loaded, even though you didn't load it. It's implicit, right? We talk about implicit things. Java.lang, that package is always loaded for you because it includes all the language features. To use a package, you import library classes by specifying the package and the class name. So for example, if we're using Java, the Java library rectangles, we would say import. We put this right at the beginning of our program or our source file. We say import java.awt.rectangle. And now we can use rectangles in our code because now we've loaded that package. The compiler knows what that is now, and we can create rectangles with our constructors. So you don't need to import classes in the java.lang package, such as string and system. Those are already there, and those are already loaded. Without java.lang, you couldn't really do much anything. So they say, well, okay, let's not make everybody type it in every time you make a source file. We'll just always load that package automatically. So again, the word implicit means you can't see it in the code, but it's there. It's just done behind the scenes. Okay. So here's how you import packages. You say import the package name and then dot the class name. So if we need to use rectangles, we say import. Our package name is java.awt. AWT stands for Advanced Windowing Toolkit. And then the name of the class. Now, if you're really lazy, what you can do is you can say java.awt.star. What that does is it loads all the things in that package. Say you're going to use most of the things in the package. Why list them out one class at a time? You can just say java.awt.star, but you don't want to do that all the time because here the program is going to be loading up all these classes, and then you're only using one of them. And so you're wasting all this time. Every time you compile it, you're loading everything every time. It's going to slow down your development. You slow down how fast you can code stuff. So I tend to list them one at a time unless I'm almost using everything. And if I am, then I'll put the star there. Okay? The star means like if you're used to a Windows box, star usually means everything. Just grab everything that's in that package. But don't get in that habit. I would still list them out one at a time, unless you're using almost all of them, then use the star at that point. Look at the API documentation for the string class. Which method would you use to obtain the string hello world from the string hello world? So one is lowercase, one has mixed case. Well, let's look at that. Let's say, so I'd say string java doc. Okay, so here's Java 7. I wonder why they don't have 8, but we're going to say 7. 7 is pretty close to 8, right? Here's our string class. And we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we take a mixed case hello world and make just a lowercase hello world? Well, we can look here. It talks about, this is all preliminary stuff, usually kind of hard to read. It probably says something about immutability. Let's see if the word immutable is there. Yeah, it's right there at the beginning. It says strings are constant. Their values cannot be changed after they're created. String buffers support mutable strings because the string objects are immutable and they can be, it says because the string objects are immutable, they can be shared. That's why they do immutability, is this ability to share them. Interesting. So this is kind of interesting if you're just trying to get an overview of the string. But then what do strings have in them? They have, I don't know what that is. But here's all the constructors. You can create a string that has no characters in it. Here's a string that can store bytes. Here's a string that can store ASCII. Notice that some of these are labeled deprecated. Anyone know what deprecated means? It's a funny word. Yeah, he said, basically said, don't use this anymore because this is old. It's there for backward compatibility purposes, but don't write any new code that uses this because it might go away in the next version. It's been deprecated. You have to be careful how you say deprecated. You don't want to put an F in there. That would be bad. But deprecated means don't use this for new code. They leave it in there so that if you're looking at old code that uses it, you can figure out what it does. But they don't want you to use it anymore because it's going away. And in Java, lots of stuff goes away. They do it the first time and it stinks. And they go, oh, that was bad. Wow, okay. Well, let's do that again. And so they try it a different way. They do this all the time in Java. They present something, they think it's the best thing in the world. People start to use it and it's terrible, awful. And they go, oh, that was a bad idea. Okay, let's, if you ever played Yu-Gi-Oh, they make these cards that make them, you can't use them in games because they're too powerful, right? They nerf them and or they just you can't have them in your deck. That's what they're saying. Don't put these cards in your deck. That would be bad. Like I know, Monster Reborn. Okay, you can't use that one. Is that limited? You have one? Yeah, I didn't think you could have that one anymore. Are you playing the TWC version or the other one? Yeah. Well, I have a super heavy samurai deck that no one can beat. Just letting you know. Yeah, those are good. Okay, so here's all the different constructors for strings. Notice that it has the same names as strings. String is like the largest class ever. Those are just the constructors. Look at that. Oh my gosh, there's a million. And then here's all the methods that you can use on a string. This goes on for pages and pages. Say we want to figure out which one that would set everything to lowercase. Well, it's probably called to lowercase. There it is, to lowercase. So it says converts all the characters in the string to lowercase using the rules of the default locale. So I could say to lowercase. Now it gives me the details. Converts all the characters to lowercase. This is equivalent to lowercase locale get default. What is a locale? Well, that's where are you? Are you in Germany? Are you in Brazil? Sometimes to lowercase means something different in a different language. Sometimes they don't have capital letters. You know, like you're in Arabic. What's the Arabic capital letter for Aleph? They don't have capital letters. They're all the same, I think. They change their shape depending upon where that letter is in the word, but they don't have this concept of upper and lower case. So it only applies to certain languages, but. And then it says converts all the characters to lowercase using the rules of default locale string. The string converted to lowercase. So what it doesn't say is that it doesn't change the original string. I would put that in big bold letters. It doesn't change the original string. It gives you a copy where everything is lowercase. Okay, he didn't say that. So that's a little bit weird, but that's how you go and look it up. Okay, so we'll go back to our presentation. All right, so we got that. Hopefully we get that hello world string coming back. In the API documentation of the string class, look at the description of the trim method. What does trim do? Trim is really handy. If you have extra spaces at the beginning or the end of a string, say you're putting these in the database, say somebody's name, this really messes up databases. You ask for somebody their first name, they put in a couple of spaces, then they put in their first name. And their first name is, I don't know, General Zod, okay? Zod, puts his last name as Zod, but he puts 2 spaces before it. And then you alphabetize the list and Zod's always coming first. And you're going, why is Zod first? It's a Z, you know? He shouldn't be first. And what's happening is those 2 spaces are being included in the alphabetization. They come before everything else spaces come. And so it looks like it's not in alphabetical order. So what you do before you let any user put in their last name, you trim off the preceding spaces and the trailing spaces. And then you put it in the database. And now Zod's going to be at the end, not the beginning, when you make out a list. Okay. And I don't like General Zod anyway, so he should be at the bottom. That's what I think. I was watching Superman the other night, so I like that the person who played Zod. So who is that actor? He's really good. He was in Lord of the Rings. He was the guy who shot the arrow at the Hobbit movie, not the Hobbit, the Dwarf movie.
Orlando Bloom.
Yeah, there's that guy, but there's that other guy who has that big bow. And he shoots Smog the dragon because he's missing that scale. Yeah, that's the same actor who plays General Zod. Great actor. Wow, I wish I could act like that. What's his name? Nobody knows his name, but he's an excellent actor. Yeah. What's his name? Michael Shannon. Yeah, I don't know his name. That's the first time I've heard his name, but he's just an excellent actor. Okay, so the random class is defined in java.util package. You create random numbers. We're doing that in Java 2 right now. It's creating random numbers, or we will on Monday. What do you need to do in order to use that class in your program? Well, import.java.util.random, right? Put that at the top of your program. Okay, so that's our lecture for today. Oh, and now I can open it up for questions. Monster Reborn is limited. Yeah, it is. I hate Soul Charge too. That's another one I hate. Or Raigeki. Well, if you're playing someone else who's playing Forbidden Cards, then it's okay. But we're talking about Yu-Gi-Oh. You might wonder why a 57-year-old person is playing Yu-Gi-Oh and knows about the cards. You ever wonder about that? Mr. V. I don't know, but my son likes to play Yu-Gi-Oh. He didn't have, during the pandemic, he didn't have any friends over, so I learned how to play Yu-Gi-Oh so I could play my son, and now I'm just crushing him. He doesn't like it anymore. But yeah, Magic is a little bit more grown up. Okay, so I'm going to answer questions. Let me just look in the chat. Does anyone at home have any questions about the presentation? Okay, so I'll wait until see. Here's a question. Okay, the first couple of slides, sure. We started. Now let's see. It's going to take a while to get there. I think we started here on constructing objects. Yeah, right there. So you might take a picture of that, Brady. Just let me know when you got a picture of it or something. Do you have that? I'm watching the chat. Okay, the next slide is this one. Yeah, I have a super heavy samurai deck. I've got ancient gear deck. Yeah, and then okay, cool. And I have one other deck. I can't remember what it is now. All right. So that's questions about the presentation. Now we're going to take a look at some different challenges that people are having in the game. So, so why don't you? Can you send me your link to your? Just put it in the chat. Copy the link and send it to me directly, not to everybody, just to me. Oh, okay, yeah. Join the Zoom meeting and then send me that in the chat. Where'd my chat go? Darn it. So frustrating. You click on something and then the box disappears. So frustrating. Caden, yeah, you just got here. Hey, you're late. I had a student come in class once. He was like 15 minutes late for class. I go, you're late. Goes, I'm not late. I'm just really early for tomorrow. So I didn't mark him absent because that was good. Okay, here we go. Yeah, how do you call it? So I'm gonna yeah. Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay. Okay, so you're getting the selection. Boy, you're doing fancy. Okay. All that works. And then, so what's your question? You're trying to call it, right? Oh, all of this stuff. Oh, in here? Yeah. You would say, enter the Celsius temperature. You're saying, oh, you're just not getting it. Do you have a scanner? You do, right? Okay, so what I would do is I would do this. Yeah, so right here, oh, I see. Yeah, so that has to be grabbed first, right? Because it's just a timing issue. So I would put it there instead. Okay. Right. So the metric conversion, first thing you want to check is that the class name is metric conversion live, and it is metric conversion live. And then if you go in there, yeah, that's spelled correctly. And then you have public static double C to F. You're passing in a double. That's important, okay? This should be 9.0 instead of 0.0. Yeah, that's fine. But that's not the issue. Let me run it. It's supposed to be 9.0. Well, let's see what error we get. Or it's actually running now. So I'm going to put in a value. Oh. Cannot find metric conversion live.c to f ctemp. Okay, so that's in the call, right? So yeah, so this is metric conversion live. Ctemp. Ctemp is a double, so that's correct. Yeah, the T, is the T capitalized or not? Yeah, so that's the problem, is the T is not capitalized here. Yeah, it's not, well, it is not capitalized. So you got it right in both places. So why is it complaining? It says, oh, it says variable. It's thinking it's a variable. That is not a variable. I think what you do is, what we're going to do is get rid of that completely. Yeah, that's the other thing is, yeah, Fahrenheit temperature is F temp. So you say F temp equals that. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, maybe that's the problem. And then here you would print out F temp. Yeah, you have a question? Somebody at home?
Yeah, the metric conversion library isn't .java.
It isn't. Oh, it's not a Java file. That's why. Yeah. So there's our problem. And I made that mistake in class. So a lot of people are having this issue. Notice that this is a Java class. It looks like a cup of coffee. Yeah, you just have to save it. So click here and say rename .java. And then now it knows it's a Java file. Oops. Let me rename it correctly. Yeah. Now it's actually compiling it instead of just say I can't find it. That's good. Yeah, it's because you put the outside of these things, but you're not returning anything. So this one's saying it's returning a double, and this one's not returning anything. So what I do just temporarily is I say return 0.0, and then more importantly, I say temp. This is just temporary code so that we can compile it. Okay. I just return 0. Right. But now you're compiling, so now the errors you're seeing are correct. So thank you very much. Was that Tatiana help us out? I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. Tatiana is always helping me out, so I appreciate that. No, it returns a value. Well, CTF means Celsius to Fahrenheit. So what you're, yeah, it should be this. It should be F temp, right? Because you're trying to convert you're trying to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So that's correct. What you have here is correct. It returns a value which you can use as the Fahrenheit temperature. This right here? No. The one above it? Yeah, no. This is our input, right? And so we use that input variable in our equation. We don't have an F temp because we're returning the value directly.
So now it's not doing the math calculator. I ran it, it gave me the second.
Yeah. Yeah, so right here, See how you're dividing by 0 again?
So I fix that on,
Okay, you're gonna fix them on both of them.
yeah, there it is. Directions.
Yeah, you can do that. Well, I think order of operations, still do it correctly. Yeah, it does multiplication first, but it will do the parentheses before that. So the parentheses will still get done before that. Yeah, you can. I don't think it'll change the outcome, but that's,
Around the whole thing, though.
no, you don't need parentheses around the whole thing. So that what this will do is to do the left side and then do the right side and then multiply them together. That's the order. But it shouldn't change, that shouldn't change the outcome.
Just printing out.
Okay, so that's probably up here then. Let's find out why that is. So you say 1. Here you have C temp, right? Well, he's got a cool menuing system here. Isn't this neat? What you do is he puts it out here and you just say, you use a number to select which function you want. Yeah, so he's doing a little bit more. So I'm going to run this. I've got a lot of errors. Sure.
Yeah, I just saw the return.
Yeah, fix all the errors. Yeah. Well, we don't have to keep everyone else in class here, so I'm going to let everybody go. But if you do have questions, send me an email. I'm going to be on a plane this evening, so I may be out of internet connectivity on the plane, or maybe not. I'll get my computer out and see if anyone has any questions. I'll check on things probably Saturday night. I'll have everything set up. So if I'm a little bit out on contact, it's because I'm away. But certainly when I get back, I'll be able to help anyone. And then all our due dates, certainly we have lots of time, so we don't have to worry too much about time. If you want to take off, you're welcome to. Thank you for sticking with us today. We talked about a lot of cool stuff. So I'll see you later. Thanks. Bye-bye.
You.
Thank you, Tatiana. Oh, Haley, that was Haley. Okay, I'll come over and help.
See ya. And by the way, I was playing my guitar for the whole of the Java 1 part.
Oh, very good. Oh, guitar. Well, that's more worthwhile than even Java 1. Of course, I'm biased on guitar.
Maybe at some point I'll bring it to school and we can jam.
Yeah, we could. That'd be fun. I'd enjoy that actually very much.
All right.
All right. See you guys.
Yeah.